Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be showing us how to make this dress. If it's something you're interested in, then stick with me to the end of the video. Alright then, let's get into the video. This style is a combination of a bralette and a flay skirt. So we'll start by drafting the flay. To know how much fabric I would need to fold, I would first get the radius of the circle and then add it to the length of the skirt plus allowance. So that's how much fabric I'll be folding. The round waist measurement is 28, the gown length is 36, and the waist length is 15 inches. To get the radius of the circle for the waist, I will be dividing the round waist measurement by 6.28. Now, because my dress is going to have zip at the back, I'd have to leave some space for zip allowance. So I'm going to add 3 inches allowance, so 1.5 on one side and 1.5 on the other side. That gives me a new waist measurement of 31 inches. Now the radius is 31 divided by 6.28. So the radius is approximately 4.9 inches. Now the length of the skirt will be the gown length minus the waist length. So that is 36 inches minus 15, which gives us 21 inches, plus 1 inch for allowance, that's 22 inches. Now for the folding, the amount would need to fold for the flay. So the folding is going to be the radius plus the length of the skirts. So our radius is 4.9 and the length of the skirts plus the allowance is 22 inches. So I have that as 26.9 inches, which is approximately 27 inches. Now I'll take this measurement to go and cut the flay. I'll be folding my fabric like an handkerchief, so one end to the other 27 inches and the another end to another 27 inches. I'm currently using this Ankara fabric and it's the full length of the fabric is 45 inches, so that's not long enough to give me 27 times 2, that's 54. So I need it to be 54 inches long. On the other side, I can get 27 inches, but on the other length, I wouldn't be able to get 27 inches. So I have a few inches short of 27. What I'll do is to cut out the 27 inches. So I folded this fabric to meet the other side. So I'll be cutting out 27 inches on one end. So opened up, it is 27 plus 27, that is 54. So I'll just cut out this 27 by 27 inches now. And then I will open it up and measure it to figure out how much more I need to get to 54 inches. So currently I have 46 inches, but I need 27 plus 27, that's 54 inches to be able to fold a square. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches more to get to 54 inches. So I'm going to measure 8 inches plus 1 inch sewing allowance across a length of fabric. So it's going to be 8 inches wide and 54 inches long. So the length is 54 according to the length of our fabric that we need, and then the width is 8 inches. That's what's remaining to complete the other fabric to 54 inches. So I'll just cut a strip of fabric across. Now that I have my strip of fabric, I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it to the main fabric. Now that I have attached it together and I have a full 54 by 54 piece of fabric, I'll go ahead and fold my fabric. So one end to the other and then take the other end and join to the other. So it's going to be like we're folding a handkerchief. So if you have a fabric that is long enough, you don't have to do all this I just did here. If you have a fabric that the length is probably like 60 inches or longer, then you can just do it as they go and skip all that I've just done here. I'm just trying to make more allowance for the shortage I have. So I'll just go ahead and fold it. So I'm going to go ahead and measure the radius. So we had 4.9, but that's just a guide. So I'll start by measuring 4.5 inches from the start and measure a quarter circle. Now measure around the curve to see if it gives me the waist measurement divided by 4. So my waist measurement is 31 divided by 4 is 7 3/4. So that's what I have now. So I'll just leave that measurement there. But if you measure and you're not getting the measurement, say it's less, you can go down by half an inch and measure around the curve to see if it gives you the measurement, or if it's more, you go up by half an inch. Just keep going around that way to get the accurate measurement you need. Please disregard this double line you see. I mixed up my measurements. So I'll go ahead and measure the length of the skirt all around from the waist until I cover the full quarter circle. Next, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my waist and cut out the length. So if you cut this out properly, you shouldn't have any opening. So all sides should be on fold. So now I want to split the side that should be the zip allowance, so the opening. So I want this opening to be the joining here to be at the back. So that's the part I'll be splitting to be at the zip allowance because it's a back zip. So I'm ensuring that I'm picking just one fabric. You know it's on fold. So if you split two, that means you're going to have two joinings at the sides. So I'm splitting just one because I want my joining to just be at the back. And I want this additional fabric that I put to be at the back as well. Okay, so that's it for the flay. I will go and cut the lining. So the lining will just be shorter than the flay because I'm not turning it completely with the lining. So I'll cut the lining and then put the flay aside and start working on the bralette. Now for the bralette, I'll start by taking my measurement. So I'll take it from the side boob to the center. So I'm just covering as much as I want to cover. I have that as 8 inches plus 1 inch allowance, that's 9. So what I'll do now is to cut out a square. So the square is going to be the 9 inches by the 9 inches. So the length of the bralette is the width. So it's going to be 9 inches. So I would cut out 2 pieces of fabric, one for one side and one for the other side. Now I've cut out the 2 squares. What I'm going to do now is to fold it to a triangle. Next, I'm going to take one end to meet the other end like this. And then I'm going to cut out this part. Next, I would use my pattern master to draw a curve. I'm connecting this curve so I don't have any sharp points. And then I'll trim along this line. And this is what I have. So I'll go ahead and cut out linings for it as well. I have 2 pieces for the main fabric and 2 pieces for the lining. Now for the waistband, the length of the waistband will be the difference between the underbust length to the waist length. So the underbust length of this measurement is 12.5 and the waist length is 15. So the difference is 3.5. I'm going to add 1 inch for allowance. So I have 4.5 for the waist length. The length of the waistband is the round under bust measurement. So I have round under bust and round waist. The round under bust is 30 and the round waist is 28. So I'm using the bigger of the two. So the round under bust measurement plus the zip allowance. So I have 1.5 and 1.5 on both sides. That's 3 inches. So 30 plus 3. The length of this band is 33 inches and the width is 4.5 inches. So once I have my measurement, I will cut it out. I'll be cutting 2 strips of this because I'm using the main fabric to line it. I would mark the back of the fabric so I don't make mistakes when I'm sewing, and then I put this aside. Next, I'm going to cut out the strip of fabric I'll be using for the rope, and this measures 1.5 inches by 20 inches for each rope. Next, I'll go ahead to iron interfacing on the pieces. So I've gone on to iron interfacing on the bralette areas, so on the lining and the main fabric for all 4 of them. I've also iron interfacing on one of the waistbands, so just one has interfacing, the other doesn't. And now to sewing. First, I'll take this and sew it together, but ensure that I don't have any sharp corners, and I'll do this for the main fabric and the lining. And then I will notch them and iron it open. So I'm going to use my tailor's ham to iron this. Next, I'll take the ropes and go and sew them. So I'm sewing one side closed and one side open in order to turn it. After sewing, I'll use my screwdriver to turn this to the right side and give it a good press. You can use what you have handy to turn this to the right side. So the screwdriver is what I had. So I've pressed the ropes. Next, I'm going to take the ropes and place it between the main fabric and the lining of this bust area. I'll take the rope, place it on the right side of the main fabric, and then cover it with the right side of the lining, and then I'm going to pin it together. And I'll do this for both pieces. Next, I'll take this to the sewing machine and sew the main fabric and the lining together from one side to the other. Now I've done that, I'll turn it to the right side and give it a good press. Next, I'll take my waistband and fold in two, and then I'll notch the center at the top and at the bottom. And then I'll apply half the round under bust measurement, which is 15 at the top, and half the waist measurement, which is 14 at the bottom. And then I'll connect both points together with a line. I'll do this for both the main fabric and the lining. And I'll take this tool to the sewing machine and sew on that line with a basting stitch, so the biggest stitch. After sewing, I'll iron it opened. So this process is just to find my line where the zip should be. So I'm going to open up this stitch. Now that I've made my zip line permanent, I'll go ahead and attach this waistband to the bralette. So I'll take the bra cup areas and place right side facing right side on the main fabric. So the main one is the one with the interfacing. So I'll place it on that part that I notched. I'm ensuring that I'm placing it at the top and not at the bottom. The top is where it has the under bust measurement. So I'll place both of them side by side, just as you see me do. And then I'll place the top of the lining right side on it. So I'm ensuring that I'm placing the midpoint as well together, and then I'll pin it. Next, I'll take this to the sewing machine and sew it from one end to the other, and then I'll give it a good press. The next step is to attach the flay to this bralette. So I'm going to mark the midpoint of this flay. I'll do that for the main fabric and for the lining. I'll take the bralette and place it on the flay. So main fabric to main fabric, right face to right face, and I place the midpoint and sew from midpoint to the end, and sew from midpoint to the other end. Alternatively, you can pin this down and just sew from one end to the other. And then I'll do the same thing for the lining piece. So I'll sew from one end to the other. Now this is what the dress is looking like. Next, I'll turn it to the wrong side to sew my zip allowance. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. First, I'll mark how long the zip is going to be. So I want my zip to stop 8 inches from the waistline, and then I'll just draw a line from the top to the bottom for my zip allowance. Next, I'll take this to the sewing machine and sew from the 8-inch mark. So that mark where my zip should start from, I'll lock it and then sew the way down. I'll do this for the lining and for the main fabric. And then I'll go ahead and attach my zip. So I'll be sewing the zip to the main fabric first, and then I'll use the lining to turn it to the right side. Next, I'm going to hem the bottom for the lining and the main fabric, and that's it for this dress. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.